Hello and welcome back to a personal code of conduct. This is Dio, and I think today is Valentine's Day. I like it's today because I'm posting it today, and we're going to be talking about sex and sexuality from the eyes of an introverted adult. I was like, at my last intro, I said teenager. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, that you haven't been a teenager for 4 years. So yeah, that's what we are going to be talking about on Valentine's Day. I was like, oh, okay. I was going to talk about why I'm probably never going to have children. I'm like, wait. Are you even going to have sex in the first place? So let's hear. It's probably going to end up being a long dramatic list of non-religious reasons if you live in Nigeria to never have sex. So yeah, I'm here to be a downer, a lonely. Okay, I'm not lonely. I actually really like being single. I'm here to be a single downer on Valentine's Day. So yeah, happy Couples Day or whatever, and let's begin. So I suppose we should begin with a disclaimer. This is called a personal code of conduct. I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm not saying this is what you should do. I'm just saying these are my answers. This is what I do. This is what I like. This is my vibe. This is my opinion on things. This is how I operate, I guess. And I don't know, I just want to answer this situation in a sense that people realize that people are just existing in this entire space, and we need each other to survive. I don't know why I'm going off. Probably still keep this thing because I'm trash at editing. But yeah, it's called a personal code of conduct. These are my opinions and mine alone. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying what I think. And why, I don't know, it's a list of non-religious reasons why you should not be having sex in Nigeria, whether or not regardless of your age. I don't know. So yeah, that's it. This entire thing is going to go towards men and women, because a lot of people seem to forget that men are human beings as well. Even though they've been stereotyped as the sex lovers, they are human beings as well. I don't know. This is dire theory. You might not be human, but I'm working with the idea that men are just like women, regular people with common sense. So let's start with, I feel you should not have sex if you're highly tied to if you're highly tied with the idea of your body as a gift or as a holy ground. I know this sounds kind of religious in a sense, but if you are attached to that idea, if you're raised to that idea, even though you are going against whatever grain, or you've decided to be agnostic, or you decided to be atheist, or you really don't care, if you're at that point but you still have it at the back of your mind that okay, this is a special gift, or this is a holy something I'm giving to somebody, if you end up breaking up with that person, the person you gave your body to, or the person you committed sin with, I'm doing the air quotes thing, you wouldn't be able to live with yourself. Not because it's a bad thing, but because you have it at the back of your mind that it's wrong. So in that kind of situation, I think it's before you decide to have sex, and if you have the mentality that your body is a holy ground, or your body is special, or your body is this, you need to sit down and be 100% sure to yourself that you no longer think that way. Because in the eventuality or the possibility of a breakup, you are not going to take it well. You're going to feel as if you're wrong. You're going to feel as if your life is ruined. You're going to feel as if you've been dirtied, because that is the mindset you're working with. If you have that background, that's where you're being raised, it's important that you make sure you clear it out before you attempt to have premarital sex. You can tell that there's somebody around, and I'm so self-conscious about this topic, but I just don't want to be seen as that person. But who cares? That's another thing that I'm probably going to come up with as a reasons to not have sex in Nigeria, or to not this is not even premarital sex, anti-premarital sex. This is anti-all sex in Nigeria, at least, because we have unique social factors and what have you. So I'm talking about the social factor of having a religious mindset or a not necessarily religious. You have it at the back of your mind that this thing, my body is a special gift So I don't think you're ready for sex if you haven't been able to pull that away from your mind, especially premarital sex. Maybe if you ended up like having marital sex, you fulfilled your special gifts that your religion insists that you have and what have you. But if you still have that at the back of your mind, I would never encourage you to, no matter, even if you've not been to church in years or you've not been to the mosque in years, if you still have this, oh, my body is special and the holy ground, and it's a special gift that I should just don't do it. Like, even no matter how, like, the idea of, oh, like, I no longer believe in these things anymore, I want to like explore myself, and don't do it, because you'll be broken if you end up having like a relationship that is shattered, because you're not truly in a mental state where you actually do not care about premarital sex. You're just not. You just think that you are, but you're not. Because so if you want to have premarital, you have to be honest with yourself. Are you cleared from that mental state? If you are not, then don't do it. I'd say number 2, do not have sex if you think the event will be magical and special. See, they're talking as if he's not a virgin. Lol. Like, but I personally think that you should not have sex if you think the event is going to be special. Just like all normal bodily functions, human beings are gross. It's not going to be like your freaking Harlequin novels. It's even if you are not even the Harlequin kind, it's not going to be like porn if you are a porn kind of person. It's not going to be like either, says Dio, the experienced one. Lol. But like, it's not going to be, because human bodily functions are gross. And I feel like until you decide that I'm going to be confident enough, I'm going to be comfortable enough to speak up with this person, to tell this person that, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, I don't think you have any business having sex, especially if you find yourself as the submissive partner in that kind of relationship where you are not able to speak up to your own wants. You just go along with whatever the person wants. If you cannot speak up with what you want, what feels good, what is right, if you're not confident with an individual, whether or not you are a one-night stand human being or you're in a committed relationship, I don't think you should be having sex. Because you have to be able to tell yourself that this is going to be mediocre. This is the first thing. I know I keep saying you, but this is a personal code of conduct. I'm talking about that. I'm talking about myself. Because in the end, this is like a series in which I give advice to myself. And if you you find it suitable, you should go ahead and listen to it. So where was I get to this point where I'm scatterbrained and I'm still shitty at editing. So if you find yourself in a situation that you're not confident to speak up about your body, about your pleasure, about like ensuring that whatever sexual situation you're in, you and your other party or the other parties, if you're just freaky like that, are communicating well, and you know that your end goal is having an equal and even pleasurable situation for all of you. I feel so weird giving advice to people. I'm not giving advice to people, this is advice to myself, but like, yeah, cringy topic, eh? Do not have sex if you're not confident of getting yourself out of a terrible situation with this individual that you're choosing to have sex with. I remember like scrolling through Zikoko, and I was listening to this, like Zikoko is this like website, like they are basically like in Nigeria, a BuzzFeed style website, like but focusing on Nigerians. So like it was about this, like people were telling their traumatizing sex stories, like not like rape, like traumatizing sex stories. And somebody was like, she met this really hot dude at the bar, and they got, basically I think at that situation, her situation was rape. Like she met this hot dude at the bar, and like they went like to a hotel, and they were like, okay, they are totally going to do it and what have you. And guess what? The dude was an asshole. He was like one of those, like, she described him as a traditional Igbo man, in a sense that he was the kind of person who thought he did well in the bedroom when the woman cannot walk straight. So he was just forceful and rough with her. And she feels like she had developed like vaginismus. I don't know, maybe that story scared me, but like maybe that story like scared me. And I that is like one of the many reasons why I'm like, nope, I am not having sex with any of these fucking human beings. Because it's not a question of does this human being see me as a person. I think I always go over that on and on this podcast. Like, are you seen as a person by this other human being? Do they respect you? Do they understand what you want? Like, if they don't see you as their equal, you get treated like, obviously, I don't think it was a relationship. She just met him at a bar and she followed him. And I don't think that's like a problem if you are confident you can get out of that situation if they start behaving anyhow. But if you were like in a relationship, Darius, like, I don't know. I keep trying to put disclaimers that Dario has never been in a relationship. Dario, like, that kind of vibe. But like, this is my reasons why I'm probably never going to have sex until I can get over these things. That's not going to happen, like, to Dario. So where was I was like, she found herself in that situation where she was horribly, she felt like she developed vaginismus, but because she's a woman who's financially independent, who was having the best time of her life, going around being with like men she found attractive and intelligent. And it turns out, like, yes, for all his business acumen and his attractiveness, the dude was like freaking a forceful asshole that didn't even think of a woman as a human being and somebody that deserving of pleasure. He just rammed it in, and she was just there like Kinimokora. I mean, see, she's not Yoruba, but like, that's the thoughts that I'm pretty sure was going through her mind. Okay, I'm speculating, but like, in that kind of situation, you're just there like, that's why I think it's very, very, very important, regardless of your gender, that if you're going to have sex with somebody that you can trust, like, at least for your first time. And if you are like, you decide you want to be like Gbogbo, like hot girl or hot guy or hot everybody, I think that you should what's the word? I think that you should, how do I define this? You ensure that you don't find yourself with somebody that doesn't see you as a human being. And I think that's very, very important, because in any kind of situation, if you are like, especially if you find yourself as a submissive partner, you might find yourself in a situation whereby that person doesn't care about your pleasure. That person doesn't treat you as a human being. That person doesn't even care whether you're alive. That person is just trash. And that kind of situation. And regardless of like whatever thing you believe, whatever vibe you want to give, can you tell this is trash? Because I don't know how to use WavePad. And whatever thing that you believe, it's important that you understand that you are human and nobody should infringe on your safety and your happiness because, like, in that situation they feel like this is how you should be treated, or this is that you should take what they are giving you, or whatever rubbish. Even, or like, I think the key thing is that I don't want to be typecasted as the ashawo. How will I explain? Let's look at it. In a situation where, like, especially if you've like been in like several relationships and the person is understanding that you people have had several, what's the word I'm looking for? You've had several like previous partners in which you had like a sexual relationship with them, and then you fall in love with this person, you're getting serious, you're having a sexual relationship with this person, and it turns out that, they're like, no, I totally want to marry like a person from my church. And it's scary how people can be so two-faced, and like how, yes, they sees you as a person, as this amazing, knowledgeable, awesome person, and then you turn and you just be like, oh no, I want to marry somebody I can't control. That kind of creepy vibes. So even though it's like a dodge bullet, you find yourself, I don't know, I'm talking as if I have experience, Dario, like in that kind of situation. But this is me trying to convince myself like on several things on why, like, of course, like basically me examining why I'm probably never ever, I know this is getting repetitive, ever going to sleep with somebody in this country or in the next country, because all human beings are assholes regardless of which continent you're on. You're a trash person. But like, I'm a trash person too, sha. So like, if you're like, you've been put as the woman in which like a man in his youth seeks pleasure with, then then he goes on to the pure women that were kept on by his family or whatever for him. In that kind of situation, you find yourself just sad and unfortunate and duped, and you want to probably murder that dude, that kind of vibe. But like, hey, I don't know, I really don't know about this kind of situation. I do. Was this a wise topic, Dario? Another reason why I will probably never have sex, okay, not never, but this is like one of the reasons why I'm not going to have sex, is I am poor and I don't think poor people have any business like investing in like sex. Because I feel like if you're going to have sex, it's important that you say that, okay, this is going to be I want this person to feel good. I want this person to be happy. I want this person to enjoy. But then again, I'm thinking in the context of like a romantic relationship. Even if you're swinging and walking up and down and dating random people, I don't think you should be having sex. Like, I just don't, because you're poor. I won't say you're poor. Like, I don't know whether you're really rich or you're moving on with your life, but like, if you are not financially capable to deal with other consequences, whether I think abortion is still illegal in this country, but like, people do things. But like, if you don't have the finances to deal with the consequences of whatever action, I don't think you should do them. I think that's just common sense. But in that kind of situation, be fine with your hand and live your life and exist. Was this a great idea, Dayo? Something that's definitely none of my business, but I feel that this is about like homosexual people. Like, in a country like Nigeria, I'm very glad that I'm not homosexual. In my own opinion, okay, let me define myself as a sexual being. I'd say that I'm somebody who is attracted to men but doesn't want to stress themselves. Like, I don't want to look for a relationship. I like the idea of a relationship, but I don't want to actively participate in one. That is the like current like overview of direct sexuality right now. So where was I was saying that I don't think the worst thing you could possibly be like sex and sexuality in Nigeria is to be unfortunately find yourself as homosexual. If you realize that, okay, I'm a freaking homosexual, I think that's the day you decide that I'm beginning my financial independence journey. Because unless maybe you're having like your own anxiety, or you decide that, okay, I'm going to cure myself in quotes with God or whatever you've decided on. But like, I think if you find yourself as homosexual, you should decide that, okay, this is my financial independence journey, because you will definitely kill your parents, like, without questions. Like, if you even mention it to them in this country, you would definitely kill your parents. So in that kind of situation, I'd advise that I think in this personal code of conduct, I'm trying to say that if that situation was presented to me and I was asked for advice, this is the exact thing I'd say. I think, I don't know, I'm young, my opinions will change. I'd say that should be the day of your financial independence, and you should run. Like, it's because it's going to be like a big problem for your personal safety. And any religious person that believes in the whole you love God, the fact that your homosexuality automatically excludes you from that definition of we will save all people. They're barely even saving the children. They're not saving the children. Not that they're even barely. They're not attempting to save the children. They're not attempting to help children. They're crawling. They're just walking around. I'm going to an anti-religious rant. I'm not that anti-religious, like, at all. I'm anti-hypocrites. It's just that a lot of people, the best like targets for hypocrisy is like religious circles. So where was I was talking about how I think you should run. If you are homosexual and you're listening to this, look for money and run. I think that is my answer for you. I don't know. I think I was going to talk about like somebody, but I don't remember. I was recording at this point and it was scattered. This was supposed to be the one episode that was like more structured, more everything. I literally have fucking notes and I realized, oh my god, it's the same freaking ideas at once. This is weird. But let's go on. And I think my lack of total desire to even like want to even like get married is like understanding that you have to deal with another human being. Like, this is beyond sex and sexuality and more about companionship. I think like the sex and sexuality thing is just like a grabbing title, but like it's mostly about companionship, in the sense that I want to be treated like a relationship equal. I want us to wash dishes together. I want, like, the sex is like a symptom of a bigger problem in this country. Like, I want us to wash dishes together. I want to clean our house together. I want the person to accept I'm a very lazy human being, like a really lazy human being who actually does get things done when it gets too nasty, but like not accept it in a sense. But like, I want somebody like me that we will keep our house clean because like we don't want to disgrace the other person, that kind of vibe. But I don't want to find myself like in a relationship where I'm like, because I think Nigerian women are at this awkward position. This is like a woman thing. We are at this awkward position where we're expected to work, like to do two jobs, like do housework and work. And I'm just there like, we are literally in the same, like we are on the streets together. Why can't we be in the same house together? Like we are on the same fucking streets, the same moving through ladders. Why can't we be on the same house together? Which is another reason. I think I should have titled this like why I don't want to get married. But like that's also tying to like next week's topic on how I'm probably never going to have children. But that's mostly like a situation. But like in a situation where you just find yourself in any relation, like I think the best way to describe this, I keep saying like, is when somebody said they said Nigerian women like actually do control the dating market. They control it. But like in the marriage, it's like all you, like your last spark of amazingness of being spoiled as you're dating just broke into you being a slave after the marriage. But like I'm very sure there are equal partnerships in this country. It's just people with equal partnerships don't allow this, because as much as the person is understanding, we're raised with the idea of like the man's ego and what have you. So even though he's respectful and understanding to you in his house, you just want to like at least front, so to speak. And I'm like, I don't think I can do that for anybody. I want us to be like day one, day out. And I think having zero expectation, like I think I'm at the point where I have a lot of expectations for a relationship and zero expectations for sex. Dio. But like I think as young people we decide that which path we're going. And I think like kind of dudes that like I attract, kind of dudes that not really like in a relationship sense, I'm not attracting anybody like low. Like the kind of dudes that are like my friends, I'm happy for their like romantic partners. Like they make sense, like guy, they make sense. And I'm like, and those kind of situations, I'm just there like, at least I know that this country is not sinking to hell, because like dudes like the dudes I know. But I think there's one thing is in relation. I think I talked about it in when I was talking about like what it feels like to be like a middle class person in a third world country. And in that kind of situation where you realize that, oh, like, God, this is so rambly and horrible. When you realize that like we might be a minority, like, oh my God, the majority of this country might be incredibly poor. Like you, like when you live in your circles and you're thinking that, okay, this is the normal, this is the average, and you realize no, majority of the country doesn't live like you, majority of the country doesn't think like you. It makes me very worried for the average like human, because the reason I say the average Nigerian human and not like the average woman, because Nigerian women are also kind of trash in a sense, in the kind of like in the expectation of pay for everything. I'm the kind of person I like to tell myself I'm the kind of person that in a relationship I'd be a spender. I'd be a freaking spender. And I'm just there like, because I like it when people I like are happy, like whether it's friendship or like I'm sexually interested in them. I keep saying sexually interested in them as I move forward. Random offbeats, like 2 stories about 2 hot guys. I remember when I was 19, I was in a bus. I think I was coming back from my IT whatever, and I swear, because okay, let's like give a background on this. That is giving you too much information on the internet. Let's give a background on this. The kind of dude I find like really attractive is tall. No, I'm a short person, so like really really tall to me is like 5'10". So like that's really tall to me, but like that kind of vibe. Let's say somebody relatively taller than me, somebody hairy, somebody with face hair, arm hair, leg hair, like somebody hairy, and kind of like a bit on, like I'd say on the chubby side, but more like the kind of dude who lifts but doesn't give a shit about abs. That kind of dude. That's like Dio's perfect aesthetic. So like I was in the bus, like let's go back to me being in the bus, and I wasn't talking, I was like obviously eating this human being alive with my eyes. But like it didn't cross my mind that I could tell that I was checking him out. Like I think the dude, like with how like hairy and like like childish he looked, he probably was in his 30s. So he like straight up asked me like alpha, because I was like, am I that freaking obvious? So I just froze. They're like, oh my God, I want to die, I want this bus to disappear. And when I was like and I shake my head no, he was like, oh okay, I thought you were like interested in that way. And I'm just there like, do I look that old, like that I know Like if I think somebody's hot, like I'd follow them. But let's be honest, I was eating him alive with my eyes. Oh my god, that moment was just cringe. So I can totally see what he thought that, but I was like, no. And I looked away and I was like, I had to sit down next to this human being, knee down for like how many minutes. Then he got down and he just left. Like, and I was like, Dio, learn how to control your eyesight. Like, don't be that weird human being that eats people alive when they are like just existing. That kind of situation. So I was like, but that's the side note. I don't remember what I was saying before I went through the side note. Oh my god, this is so weird. I have nothing to get to my usual 45 minutes or 15 minutes because I've like covered all the points. Then the next hot guy was like somebody like, this one even totally 100% matched my specs, but like I was so proud of myself of not being like a creep. Like, oh my god, my 4 years of training, Daya is no longer a creep. Daya no longer stares as if she wants to eat Omolomo alive. But like, yeah, you can look, but understand that don't be creepy. Like, don't be a weirdo. Don't look people to death. But like, that's a side note. Like my growth in like checking people out and not being a weirdo or a creep or making them uncomfortable. Just be like, oh yeah, this person's hot. This person is 100% my specs, but like I'm not going to move forward, so I shouldn't stare at them like an idiot. So like there's that. Now another thing I want to go on, since I don't have any frame of reference and this is getting very scattered and I'm trying to extend this. And like the thing is, what is my theory on? Because I don't have a frame of reference. I don't ask people these things, even though I want to know. I understand that it's not appropriate to ask people about it because I don't think I know anybody well enough to ask this thing. Like even the people, my friends, so to speak, I don't like. It doesn't come up in our conversations. As much as I love them and I like to spend on them and I think they're cute and they're awesome. But like I have friends of varying genders. In Nigeria there's just two. So in that kind of situation, I'm like, I don't think I'm close enough to be nosy enough to somebody about like this issue that somebody else is facing, like their bedroom issues or whatever. So, but like, I'm going to speculate in like theory or my theory, because I don't know anybody who we have that conversation with. Okay, based on my final year in uni, I wouldn't say I was having this conversation because I don't have this kind of conversation. I watch anime and be weird. I was sitting down like in hostel, and somebody was talking about their boyfriend, and she was like how she never wears any makeup and never wears, like, you just know when she's going to like screw her boyfriend because she never wears any makeup. She never wears any makeup in that kind of situation. So I think on average, the average non-religious outgoing Nigerian youth is not going to get married as a virgin. I don't know. I know it seems like I'm saying anecdotal evidence, but like there's no evidence. This is just my theory. And in that case, I think people should be responsible. People should be more understanding, and people should no longer see women as objects. That's the key thing. We cannot continue with our double standard of a man should go and find experience wherever and women should remain holy. So like that would probably lead to a segmentation of different kind of women into their showers and the wife material, so to speak. And in that sense, if you find yourself giving your body, because you as a female were raised in the whole mindset of you being the temple of God, like even men in some properly religious household, they didn't like discriminate with in genders. They push the idea of like being on the holy ground to both genders, and that kind of situation. And you were like, okay, and yet you gave your body to you gave, because that's your thought, you gave your body in quotes to somebody you thought you could trust, to somebody you felt was appropriate for you, somebody you felt was the best, but that person saw you as someone by virtue of them receiving your body in quotes. You've left the wife material gang, even though they were the ones who could convince you. I know, like, it's be like, was she an idiot? Is she ignorant in that kind of situation? But if you've convinced yourself that you'll be together for the rest of your life, then a lot of young women or even young men, because I know some people who are I know about some people. I know of people. I've heard cases of. Don't let me talk. I don't want to talk. Sound so sure. Sound so like judgmental. Sound so. This is the end all be all. I've heard of cases of people of young men who are very attached to people that they sleep with, and I'm just there like so. Even though it's not considered the norm, it's common enough that I feel that this applies to everybody. Go with somebody who sees you as a human being. That's like the basic I think that is the foundation of my philosophy. If I'm dealing with other human beings, and I'm going to say it, and I say it constantly, I'd want to deal with somebody. I want to have a constant relationship and attention to somebody who sees me as a thinking, complex human being. And in that sense, I think you only find yourself as a sexist or a misandrist, or no, a sexist applies to both genders, a misogynist or a misandrist, based on your refusal to see a certain group of people as human. So that's like I think a sense of relationship. If you are not with somebody who sees you as human, and again, just because I'm talking about the married market, I think we are circling back to sex. Just because your first person you sees you as a human being doesn't your value as like a human being doesn't reduce once they partake of your body, so to speak, in a sense. Just because that doesn't mean the next person you date will be like that. So I think a lot of if you are choosing to like have an active sex life, I don't know, this is based on my theory in Nigeria, I think you should make sure you roll with people who think like you, because a lot of people can be fake, and you have to be very careful about fake people, unless maybe you are like the one night stand king or queen. You have to tell yourself that this kind of person I'm rolling with, even if we break up and they understand that I've had sexual relations with other people other than them, I see a possibility of like marriage and what have you, and like building a family, and this person doesn't see me as anything less because of that kind of situation. Okay, I think now we are going back to the main topic, because I just remembered another reason not to have sex in Nigeria: the low access to birth control and abortion. Like, I understand like there's condoms on every corner of the streets, but I think a good portion of Nigerian men are circumcised, and I think that reduces. This is bullshit theory. I don't know any. Okay, I know the people with dicks, but like I don't know enough, and I don't think I have the balls or anybody to that. Pun intended. Okay, pun wasn't intended, but like I don't think I have the balls to go around asking people about their dick sensitivity. So I was just there. So my things and so a lot of people have this thing where men, and the quality of condoms. I know this is like off-putting and jump. There was no jump cons. Daryl got everything scattered. The quality of like condoms in Nigeria, so I heard, isn't like the best. And coupled with the fact that a lot of men are circumcised in this country, or most men, I think it's just older for the north. Like, it's when they're older they do it up north, but most men are circumcised either for religious, or there was already a pre-existing cultural practice before the advent of religion. And I think in that situation they are desensitized. That's another thing. I think this is going to come up when I want to have children. Like, do I want to circumcise my son based on the knowledge that I know that he's probably missing out on a good portion of sexual pleasure or what have you? I don't know, man. But like, if so, like, condoms are, so I heard, the gist on the streets, a lot of people are against condoms. So in my opinion, in the limited access to birth control, and the birth control in this country, at least I know the birth control like that was available in my mother's time was trash, because it made her gain like I won't say horrible amount of weight. My mother is still hot, like a large amount of weight for a woman who has always been very slender. And like, it was so obviously like, okay, this is the birth control designed for a third world country. We're not going to take any care or any responsibility because these people are poor fucktards. Like, no, like the way basically how like poorer countries are trash cans for rich countries, that kind of vibe. So like, I wouldn't the birth control available to like educated women who came back to Nigeria, or who stayed in Nigeria at the time, was just trash. Like, oh god, like total and errant trash in that kind of situation. So like, I think, and that's, so let's go back to the actual point. I think this is the main reason why you shouldn't have like intercourse in Nigeria, whether pre or post-marital. I won't say there is a poor access to birth control. I'd say the ignorance that a lot of people pose like to having birth control, which is number one thing. If I ever find myself that, okay, I'm going to have pre or post-marital sex, that's the one thing. If I even get married, like whatever sex in whatever direction that I and hospital and try to get birth control. And this goes on to the access to birth control. Nigerians are fake as fuck. Like, we know that we are fake as fuck. Like, we want to ask stupid questions, like, to a young woman that, oh, where is your husband? Like, you know she's here for the drugs. Like, why are we just trash like this? Like, I don't know why. Like, we like to pretend like we are going to heaven. I know this is a rant on, like, anti-hypocrisy, but, like, we like to pretend like we are going to heaven. Like, nobody here, okay, I won't say nobody here, like, you might be going to heaven, but, like, a good portion of Nigerians, if there is an heaven, are not going anywhere. They're not even going to smell the place. And in that kind of situation, just because it's a sin you don't surprisingly commit in your outstanding portfolio of sins doesn't give you the right to judge this person that's committing that sin. Now, I know I could probably go on to my ideology of what should constitute a legal requirement as a sin, and a legal requirement as a crime versus sin, and all that kind of situation. I should get into like 10 minutes, like explanations of issues and what have you. So where was I? So the limited access to birth control, either through judgmental issues, but I think a lot of younger people, like, go to a young pharmacist. Like, if you're a young person, you're seeking birth control, either especially before marriage, look for a young doctor, like, without question. Don't be around older nurses, don't be around young doctors, don't be around people from, I'm going to say the dreaded word, people from poorer backgrounds, like, that have become, like, people from very religious background. I think the word is not that, because people in the streets, in quotes, are having way more sex than you in your middle class house, in your middle class flat, in your boring ass life. But, like, it's important that you have access. Like, if you are going to choose to have premarital sex, it's important that you have access to birth control. It's important that you're aware of the proper usage of all birth control, and it's important that you're with a partner that has enough, that is not going to sabotage your birth control, regardless of who is, like, because we know who sabotages what, depending on the person's end goal and that kind of vibe. So where were we? Talking about, like, people's situations and, like, where they are going to, how they are going to, like, exist in a relationship with another person. That's just scary. That's just, like, pointless in a sense. I think my nihilist is coming out. The fact where I'm just there, like, this doesn't make sense. Why make this entire effort dealing with a human being that may not see you as human? But then again, why not? Like, it's the optimistic part of the optimistic nihilism, is it not? Since I've covered, like, reasons to never have sex in this country, let me cover, like, more reasons to never be in a romance. For one, you're poor. Like, you're just freaking poor. Like, love is not for poor people. I think, and this applies to both genders. Like, focus on getting money before you focus on falling in love, because I feel it's something you can easily, because it starts with you check somebody out. Like, what business do you have checking somebody out if you cannot eat good food? Like, what kind of rubbish and nonsense is that? But then again, we can't control the heart, but you can completely ignore it. You can't control it, but you can ignore it, so to speak. Like, I'm too poor I'm not even, like, financially, like, stable enough to say that, okay, because if I cannot take you out on a date, I cannot buy you shit. Like, I don't earn at least, like, oh god, I don't earn, like, at least, like, 250k in this country. I'm not interested in, like, falling in love or being in a relationship, because then I wouldn't be able to take responsibility for whatever consequences may come up for our relationship. I won't be able to up and leave and say, like, I am not listening to you anymore, mother, or, like, that kind of vibe. So, like, in whatever kind of relationship, in whatever kind of sexuality, if you are going to fall in love in this country, I'm going to suggest that don't be poor. Like, seriously, don't be poor, or, like, at least be financially independent, because I feel like the upper limits for financial independence in, like, if you're coming from a poorer household is, like, much lower than if you're coming from a wealthy household, because you're already used to a certain kind of luxury if you are from a relatively wealthy household. So, like, your idea of you not being poor and being able to say, like, parents, I no longer need you and I can do whatever the fuck I want, is much higher than somebody from, like, a poorer household. Reason number 2, Nigerians are trash. Okay, not like Nigerians are trash. Okay, and Nigerians are trash. Like, or humans in general are trash. The chance, or you yourself are a trash person. So like, or all three. Let's just say you meet a trash person that doesn't respect you as a human being, or you find yourself as a toxic person in a relationship. So I think before you attempt a relationship, you must be able to properly set your own boundaries. Like, what is the rubbish and nonsense? What is something I can forgive, and what is something that I'll never take? So that in case you get a relationship, you're like, okay, this is my list. This is the kind of stuff I'm willing to like take, and this is the kind of stuff I'm not willing to take. I don't like stress. Who likes stress? I don't like stress. Nobody likes stress. Like, in that kind of situation, you have to understand that I think that at least like giving yourself a set of standards. It doesn't necessarily have to be like money, body, that kind of vibe. It's the simple, this is how I want to live my life. This is kind of vibes I want in my life. This is kind of energy that I want to reciprocate. That kind of vibes. So like, I think that's reason number 2 of why you shouldn't be in a relationship. I maybe I should have called it, but I think like it's like the sex aspect is more specific in a sense that it properly points out the actual main problems in that segment of the relationship. But this is like just general why you should not be in a relationship. I also think that depending on the kind of relationship you are in, the bar of like the definition of financial independence is really high, like I said in the previous time. So if you are like in a regular single ethnic like relationship, or a single ethnic heterosexual relationship, like both of you are Yoruba and you are a straight couple, I think that your barrier to like being in a relationship is okay. You both of you have upward moving careers, regardless of like where in the world those upward moving careers are. Then like the second bar, like the second like tier is like you are in a multicultural straight relationship that your parents do agree to. Because if you're in a multicultural relationship that your parents are fine with, then it's the same bar. It's the same financial, like almost, it's basically the same financial bar as somebody like in monocultural straight relationships. Now if you're like in a multicultural straight relationship, the bar is higher, because you might, if you like the person enough, or in any relationship that the family, if you like the person enough, you probably will want to, what's the word, like cut off ties with certain family members. And it's important that you don't give a shit enough, like, and also make sure that both of you are from like actual middle class, non-crazy people kind of household. Like you are like, you can move beyond the reach of that like of the crazier household. Like maybe like the dad can hire goons and murder somebody, that kind of vibes. Like if the financial barrier to that level of like against the relationship is really high. But if it's a situation where they're like, okay, we're just against this culture, blah blah blah, but like we just never speak to us again, you just need more money, and so far you make sure you're not even asking your parents for anything. Then the next kind of barrier is if you are in a homosexual relationship. That one doesn't even matter with culture. You are just, like I said before, make mad money and run. Like common sense. Or you be like, let me tell you this random anecdote about this well-known Alaji that I think he died at one point. He was the kind of person, like, you show you that how I believe that people don't really, people like being powerful in a sense shields you from everything. This Alaji, I don't think he probably had children. He had a wife and children, but he had a preference for like young men in their 20s generally, this Alaji. So like if you were like, he basically used to just pick out dudes. Like if you were like, you found yourself moving in the bad house, so it's basically the kind of dude that nobody would miss if you weren't missing or what have you. And then like he led a gang or what have you, and everybody in the gang, like I know that on the average random person they'd beat up a homosexual dude, but like the head of the gang was like gay as fuck, and they literally brought boys that he was interested in. But then again, this is the case I heard of, like people living on the streets. You know how like there's always that one massive house in a face me and slap you street, and it's like probably, and it's, let's say it's probably owned by like somebody who grew up on that street, that kind of vibes. And that kind of person, however he made his money, so that kind of person is known in the area as like the big daddy. So like whatever his interests are, he has the power to ensure that nobody's going to question what his interests are. In fact, they'll probably be giving him the gifts of young men. And it shows how human beings in general, we are only against something when it's what they call it, when we can use it as an example for the majority. Like, do you get to an easy minority to hate? That's the key thing. Whether it's a sexual minority or it's a what's the word, or it's a cultural minority, if it's an easy one to hate and it's somebody that a group of people that feel enough that nobody would miss them in a sense if their life was ruined, those kind of people, especially if they are capable of lying to get out of stuff, then you are trying to encourage that. So it's like, okay, this is a minority that we all hate because it's easy and it helps distract it. Like, I was just so annoyed in that Jonathan period when he gave that 14-year imprisonment stuff for homosexuality. I'm like, really? Like, we have bigger problems other than worrying what adults want to do in their bedrooms. Just a freaking joke. So, I don't know. I don't think I have any more to say. So, this is going to be an unusually short podcast. After I dialed thought she had, a list of bullet points and that kind of stuff. But I think next week is going to be better since, I've started, bulleting for that and properly expressing myself and properly, arranging everything for next week. And next week is basically going to be why I may never have children. I think this is something really important to me because it cuts across a lot of issues that bother me on a daily basis. So yeah, that has been sex and sexuality I won't say in a generic third world country, but this applies to my observations of the Nigerian people, my observation of myself, and bullshit theories that I know nothing about. So bye, and see you people, if there's anybody listening, next week.